Madam President, Mr. Chairman of the Arctic Circle Assembly, Madam former Prime Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to be here. Now I suspect that it was to get all of you used to the French accent before listening to President Macron, but I would still like to honor this invitation by sharing UNESCO's contribution to your discussions and to issues linked to the Arctic. Across all our protected areas, and very often UNESCO is well known for its World Heritage Sites, but you will see that we are not only about that, but across all our sites, we can see from the Laponian area World Heritage Site in Sweden to the glaciers in Norway, we can see this undeniable truth that climate disruption is affecting the whole planet, but gaining ground faster in the poles. And this is not a local issue. So for us, for UNESCO, with its 194 member states, since the very welcome return of the United States to our organization last year. So our 194 member states, it concerns all of them, it concerns all of us. Our approach, I believe, offers perspectives for lasting sustainable development in the Arctic by leveraging all the fields of our mandate, which is about the sciences, education, culture, and information. We can develop solutions that go beyond the technical and normative domain. And I would like to mention this afternoon only three lines of contributions, 3 ways I believe we can contribute. The first is through our scientific mandate, a better understanding, better knowledge. The second is in the protection of some vital zones, protecting some areas. And the third is also very linked to UNESCO's DNA and history, is capitalizing on the knowledge of indigenous people. So first, the science. The science, which in this fragmented world remains one of the few universal languages, and the scientists in this room know that very well. We are, with our scientific mandate, we want to contribute to better understanding of the Arctic. There are many ways in which we do that. One of them is taking advantage of a UN decade, which is taking place at the moment on ocean science, which we coordinate, UNESCO coordinates through our Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. And within this decade, we have a dedicated plan for the Arctic with ambitious research projects. And to date, we have over 30 ambitious projects that have been launched on issues ranging from oceanographic conditions to biodiversity in the Arctic. I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. We're, for instance, studying the impacts of contaminants on Arctic seabirds at different stages in their life cycles. And as the Arctic becomes also a place of global pollution, pollutants are accumulating in birds population like eiders or skuas with very largely unknown outcomes. And so this initiative combines fieldwork and population modeling with the results being shared with decision makers to inform policies on pollution and marine area. One of the other ways I would like to mention, because I'm here today in Reykjavik, is the supporting of capacity building, supporting scientists, supporting students, supporting researchers all around the world on these issues. And I'm very glad that we have in Iceland a great partner for that, with the GROW Category 2 UNESCO Center, some of them might know, which is our partner in training people from around the world in, of course, geothermal knowledge, because we're in Iceland and who's the champion of that, but also land restoration or gender equality in science. The second line of action for us is we're working across the Arctic region to protect glaciers and ice caps, tundras and bays, fjords and wetlands. And it's our second priority, the protection of specific zones. And it's especially visible through our networks of UNESCO designated areas. The World Heritage Sites that many of you know, but also the biosphere reserves, a fantastic network which combines protection of nature, but also sustainable activity, green jobs, to find this balance that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greenland was mentioning. And the third is the geoparks. The geoparks, like one you have 1 hour away from here, which I visited yesterday, Reykjanes. Sorry, my pronunciation is very bad, but fantastic place, the global geoparks, where bringing together different stakeholders for us to learn and to protect also our geological diversity. And like in this place where you have municipalities, businesses, universities working together to protect this very specific place. And in the Arctic, we have 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 4 UNESCO biosphere reserves, and 4 geoparks in the sub-Arctic, like Reykjanes that I just mentioned. And together, these sites cover 100,000 square kilometers, an area equivalent to the size of Iceland. And we hope to continue, and I think it's important, it's also a call, we hope to continue to expand this network of protected areas. Again, the protected areas that are not becoming untouchable, that are protected and at the same time organized for sustainable activity. And I'm very glad that Iceland has a candidacy underway for the first biosphere reserve in Iceland. Will I try to pronounce the name? I'm not sure. Snæfellsjökull volcano. But for us, for instance, in France, very known because it's what you have in Jules Verne novel Journey to the Center of the Earth. So this very historic, special place that could be one day, I hope in 2025, a UNESCO biosphere reserve. UNESCO sites in the Arctic are also a fantastic network for cooperation between countries, between the sites. It's the raison d'être of the North Atlantic UNESCO Trail, which connects UNESCO protected areas in Canada, Iceland, Greenland, and Norway to support the sharing of best practices for management and preservation. And in March last year, managers from these UNESCO protected areas also convened in Greenland to lay the ground for the Sisimiut process. It's an initiative that we support at UNESCO that connects these Nordic sites as incubators for biodiversity conservation, climate action, and sustainable growth, using scientific, local, and traditional knowledge to drive the ecological transition we need. And this leads me to my third and last point, the dimension that I would like to mention also this afternoon, the promotion of the knowledge of the Arctic's indigenous communities. Many of our initiatives in the Arctic integrate local and indigenous knowledge to ensure that the voices of those who know the land best are heard. And as we know, for centuries, they have developed a wealth of living heritage tied to the ice, the seas, the skies, the seasons. We know that very well also, this at UNESCO, through what we do for indigenous language or for multilingualism in general. But from boats to language to fishing tradition, there is much we can learn on and capitalize on. There are reservoirs of understanding, yet there were, and sometimes still are, often neglected. So our initiative promote and preserve this knowledge and integrate it fully in the production of contemporary science. I'll give you one or two examples again. In Nunavut in Canada, we are partnering with scientists and Inuit communities to better understand the danger of azurite, cracks in ice, that are becoming increasingly hazardous as climate warms. Or I would mention the SIKU initiative on sea ice knowledge and use, in which we support indigenous communities in Alaska, Madam Senator, by compiling their observation of local weather, sea ice conditions, as well as their effects on marine mammals. And these data are then put and shared on an innovative web platform, which not only provides access to information, but also puts local communities in charge of deciding how to best share it. So a few, three ways into which UNESCO can support the work all the stakeholders are doing for the Arctic. And there would be others that I'm not mentioning here, but there's a whole initiative we are also implementing on education that has to be fully part of this. And I would conclude by quoting an author from Reykjavik, as Reykjavik is also a UNESCO Creative City of Literature. This author, Andri Magnusson, once wrote, and I quote, "Chaos is not confined to the glacier's edge, nor might I add is environmental disruption. We have a small window, we can still act, and this is what you're doing. And we will have another window of opportunity next year, celebrating the International Year of the Glacier and the launch of the Decade of Action for Cryospheric Science. It was one of the discussions we had in Paris at the Polar Summit, and I'm very glad to be able to count on a new polar emissary here with us tonight, chère Catherine. So I invite you to join also our effort at UNESCO, which is another platform to contribute to the same goals. I thank you for your attention. Merci.
Thank you very much. I am being reprimanded by the staff.
So we stand.
Yes, here, because we are running over time. So they think we might have a shorter session if we just stand. So
I can stand for very long.
Yeah, I know you can. I know you can. So we will take one or two questions from the hall, but let me just point out, since you mentioned culture, that I didn't do it in my opening speech, that we are very proud that one of the final events on Saturday will be that Yo-Yo Ma, the world-famous cellist, will play at the final Arctic Circle session together with Icelandic musicians here in the main music hall of this great building. It's called Ritual, and we encourage all of you to secure your place there. You don't have to pay extra for it, but you need to reserve your seats. And giving his interest in climate, he gratefully provided himself and his musical talents to be one of the grand finales of this assembly. So, who wants to take the only question that the staff here tells me I can take? Yes, please.
Merci, Votre Excellence. My name is Natalia. I'm a student in the International Studies of Education here at the University of Iceland. You mentioned briefly the preservance of indigenous knowledge, and I've been wondering how has UNESCO contributed to promoting sustainable education in the Arctic region, particularly with regards to preserving, integrating indigenous knowledge and cultural practices within educational frameworks.
Thank you very much for this question. Maybe an answer at global level first. So it was in 2019 we launched a study based on our mandate on education to see how the questions linked to biodiversity, climate, nature in general were integrated into the curricula. And with two lines of question, one in general and also one very specific on ocean, as we have also this, the work we do on ocean science. And what we found was extremely alarming. Well, actually, it reminded me of my own education a long time ago now, but it was very, very poorly present in the curricula in general around the world. It was less than half of the countries that had a coherent part of education about nature, environmental issues in general in their curricula. So we launched an initiative to support them into integrating and how to integrate that in their curricula depending on the appropriate ages. Also an initiative to train teachers about that. And more recently, something about what we call greening education, but about the schools themselves. Because more and more, you can see, but it's often, again, not, I think, neglected, but you have a lot of children that don't go to school because of climate disruption, because of the rains, because of all the climate events that are extreme and that prevent children from going to school. So I think this is a huge part of the collective work we have to do, and it's not yet done. And regarding indigenous knowledge, the way we had addressed it before, for us, UNESCO, it was through the language. As we are pleading, we've been advocating for years now, it's not recent at all, for education in the first year in the language you speak at home. And we have all the science that shows that children learn much best, including when they have then to go to another language, which might be the lingua franca of the country or of the region, but that they have to start school with this local language. It can have different names depending on which part of the world you are. And so this is how we've been addressing this for education. And for the knowledge, the specific indigenous knowledge on nature, environment, I would also like to mention one thing, which is that it's UNESCO with a dedicated part of our services, our administration, that produced for the first IPBES report, the report on biodiversity, the component of indigenous knowledge, indigenous science in that, and to have it at the same level of the other science, which was a fight that I remember very well in 2018. So I'd say there is a history of UNESCO because it's also linked to its mandate on culture to have always this in mind in the different aspects of our work.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and we are looking forward to cooperate more with UNESCO, especially on the indigenous part of our mandate. So let's give the Director General thanks for the applause. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And now